Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. I've got guys an update on a major winter storm that we have brewing here for the central United States. We have a major ice storm that's about to impact the Midwest, all right, sections of Nebraska, Iowa, into Minnesota and Wisconsin. We're talking about some major ice accumulations with some pretty heavy freezing rain that we're expecting overnight. We've got all the details coming right up, right? So thank you all for joining me here. On this Friday night, we have a little bit to go over here, as this is going to be more of a shorter kind of video. All right, but we're just going to go over just the latest details and the final information on our ice storm that's currently getting going here across sections of the Midwest. Then we're going to briefly talk about how we could see a pretty major Christmas or pre-Christmas winter storm for sections of the northern tier of the country. So starting out here, taking a look at your current radar, and you can see already in the Lincoln area, we already do have some of this sleet and freezing rain starting to get going here, right? This rain that you see here on the southern side, this is actually freezing rain. It's just not showing up on the radar, but that last frame does actually show a little bit of pink in there. So we'll zoom in here to see what areas are getting hit by that at the moment. All right, I think I need to zoom in here on the plus. There we go. All right, so if we go in for a closer look, you can see, all right, right around now, just north of Lincoln near Council Bluffs, all right, east of Columbus, south of Sioux City, you can actually see a lot of that sleet and freezing rain coming down there. So that's going to definitely get much heavier as the night goes on. And then right around 4 in the morning, I think we're definitely going to have the chance for seeing some major ice accumulation. So we can actually pull this up on radar scope to see a little bit better. So this is what's going on right now in Omaha. All right, we already do have some reports of freezing drizzle, but this is definitely getting heavier as this was already, this was just an hour ago. So we already have definitely freezing rain that's starting to kind of break out here. But if you look at some newer reports here, you can definitely see here now just regular freezing rain coming down. So definitely some harder freezing rain. All right, and this is definitely just going to get harder and harder as the day and the night goes on. All right, so we're going to take a look here at our alerts. So as of right now, you can see for the central United States, starting out here, you can see we have some winter weather advisories here. This is going out for sections in the purple shade. This is for all of Iowa, sections of extreme northwestern Illinois, all right, far western Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, eastern Nebraska, extreme northern Kansas, northern Missouri, eastern South Dakota, and far southeastern North Dakota. There, all right. But this is for those areas that are going to be seeing some snow and some ice, some frozen precipitation there. All right, that brings us to our next update, or excuse me, our next alert. You can see here in this dark purple shade, we actually do have ice storm warnings. All right, those are not too common. You don't usually see those every day, but we do have some of those going out for some counties out here into southeastern Iowa. All right, so if you're in this purple shade here, that's where we have those ice storm warnings. So for the rest of the country here, we're pretty quiet, mainly in the eastern United States. Look at the southern United States, dead quiet out here, absolutely nothing going on. But the western United States has definitely gotten a little bit more intense here with as far as our weather goes. All right, we have more precipitation, more storminess, and just storm activity, starting to pick up here on the west coast. You can see much of California, especially the coastline here, seeing those wind advisories. All right, so if you're in this tan shade, all right, you're talking about gusts up to 50 miles per hour, and definitely some isolated areas of higher gusts. Definitely down here into Nevada, definitely a couple of counties out here have the shot of seeing up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then for those mountainous regions, those upper elevations, we have our winter storm warnings for the Sierra Mountains here. All right, definitely a couple feet of snow is possible with this, as we are expecting some pretty heavy precipitation as we go into the overnight hours of tonight and into tomorrow. And then still some more winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings there going out for those upper elevations of the Pacific Northwest. All right, so if you're in the purple shade, those are your winter weather advisories. If you're in the pink shade, you have the winter storm warnings. And then we also do have our high wind watches going out for sections of southeastern Wyoming. All right. So we move on here to the NAM3 camel. We're taking a look at the north central United States. This is going to be our hour by hour outlook for the upcoming ice storm. So this is what was going on right around. This is going on right around now. So this is about just 20 minutes ago. All right, you can see obviously the NAM picking up on that signal of some freezing rain breaking out across sections of eastern Nebraska into northern Kansas here. So we're gonna see this definitely get much heavier and much more widespread just as the night goes on here. And you can see also that 540 line does the precipitation does approach that 540 line, so that's definitely going to kind of turn over this precipitation to some snow and obviously that freezing rain and sleet. So this is what goes on throughout the rest of the night. We're pretty much at midnight at this point, and you've got some pretty heavy pockets here of freezing rain breaking out here across sections of northwestern Missouri, southern Iowa, but definitely southern Nebraska. I mean, the NAM wants this to really be a pretty slow moving event, and it wants freezing rain to just continuously fall over the same general area here around Lincoln. This is past midnight. We're still seeing a lot of that freezing rain, and then a lot of sleet north of these areas here. So mainly into like northern Iowa and into Missouri, we're seeing that sleet or that just very slushy, wet snowfall there. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. But I do think that as far as the first couple hours of tonight, it's definitely going to be the heavier freezing rain farther south. So if you're in southeastern Nebraska or far northwestern Missouri, all right, that's where you're probably going to see the higher rates of that freezing rain here. So take this out a little bit further, and we take this out just about 5 a.m. So this is when things get pretty interesting. Look how this event kind of just starts to really come into shape here. This low pressure hasn't even really been well defined as of 10 p.m. tonight, and it's getting pretty late. But look what happens as we go in the morning. We get 1,014 millibar low, so pretty weak. But right as the low pops off, a lot of this freezing rain really starts to come together, and boom, this gets really heavy in the very early morning hours of tomorrow morning. I mean, some of you guys could be waking up to very heavy freezing rain across sections of southern and central Iowa into a sliver here of western Illinois. We have a pretty substantial band or pocket here of freezing rain, and it's a pretty sharp contrast too between freezing rain and heavy rainfall. But um, I mean, this is pretty wild stuff here. I mean, if this were to go on for a long time, this would accumulate very quickly because this is behind your cold front. So this is north of your warm sector, right? So this is going to be able to kind of not necessarily stick, but kind of be able to harden on those roadways and just surfaces here. So this is going to create very dangerous, just absolutely just downright hazardous travel conditions out here. And I mean, but it's raining here for hours across sections of Iowa here, but this is freezing rain, obviously. So this could definitely start to accumulate very quickly, and I mean, this is just still going on for hours. This is 11 a.m. and it's still very heavy here across sections of far northwestern Illinois. I mean, it's very hard in Des Moines for a couple hours here, and even into southern Minnesota, we could definitely see some of that freezing rain mixing with some of the snowfall there. All right, so this low continues to push off to the north, and it does bring some of that warm air with it. So I do think for a period of time, at the second half of this event, a lot of you guys may change over to light rainfall across sections of western Illinois and those areas that previously saw freezing rain across northern and central Iowa. All right, but the NAM also does want some of this cold air to kind of filter in on the backside, and if that happens, we may see some snow, which is just going to be even worse because that's obviously going to stick to the ice, and that's just going to make everything more slippery. So if we do get just about even just a dusting, just any amount of snow, everyone knows snow is very very slippery, especially when it's on ice. So even if we get very minor accumulations with this possible backside snow, this is going to cause huge problems for these interstates and just these major roadways here. So highways are going to be treacherous if we see the kind of accumulations that we're talking about here as far as ice goes. But this snow is definitely going to kind of come into play here the farther north you go, so definitely into Minnesota and Wisconsin there. So we're getting pretty far throughout the day, and it really turns over to snow about the dinner time frame into the late evening and overnight hours. And this thing just continues to push off to the east. Now you can actually see it kind of take on a positively tilted trough here. Kind of look to it. It's not a very strong storm, so you could say that this is just like a mini clipper or whatever, but This is starting to kind of show like a little front here of a frontal boundary of possible, colder temperatures that actually result in freezing rain. So you're starting out with freezing rain if you're in central Michigan, northern Ohio, and we see how long this lasts. And this continues for a couple hours here overnight. This is tomorrow night into Sunday, and you're still seeing some of that. Some of that freezing rain. All right, so Akron, Ohio, definitely possible. Even Cleveland area could see overnight or into the early morning hours some relatively heavy, moderate to heavy freezing rain. It's possible you're going to get accumulations in Cleveland. All right, but it's also possible you can get accumulations in Michigan, like Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo. You guys have the potential to see light accumulations if it's cold enough, and also if you actually do get hit by some of that freezing rain, but it's not going to last for the whole event as this will quickly turn over to light rainfall, but that kind of just moves off to the east. So, really the heaviest time frame here, so the time frame where we're going to see the heaviest freezing rain, really going to be about 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., or I guess 11, if you're talking about sections of the Midwest here. So, this is really for all of those counties and areas that are currently under ice storm warnings and winter weather advisories. So if you're in any of these counties, all right, please be sure once again to try your best to stay off the roadways as much as possible. But if you do happen to need to be on the roadways during this time, please make sure that you are being very careful, driving with extra caution, and obviously be mindful of other drivers because you do not want to spin out. And I do think that with this amount of ice accumulation, there is a possibility for pileups. So not to scare anybody, but I just want to put that out there just to make sure everyone knows that. So that kind of brings us here to our NAM 3cam model. We're taking a look at our ice accumulations. All right, this is when things get a little bit serious. Look at this little part here of far eastern Iowa. This is just, I believe, just south of Des Moines here. All right, we have an area of close to an inch of ice accumulations here. All right, we're seeing 3/4 of an inch to an inch of ice accumulations, and or if you're talking about ice accumulations and just severity, I mean, just a glaze to like a quarter of an inch can be considered dangerous. And the fact that we have look at that's 0.91 inches. We almost have 1 inch of ice accumulations here across sections of Iowa. So there's a part of eastern Iowa that has potential to see some downright major ice accumulation. So, like I said, if you're talking about a quarter of an inch, just a quarter of an inch being considered, severe or dangerous. All right, talk about 1 inch. That's when things get just downright serious here. So, all right, this is definitely, if this were to play out, this could be overdone a little bit, but we have ice storm warnings out for a reason, and this is the exact same area as, where we have those ice storm warnings. So, if this verifies, this is going to cause and create just a huge, dangerous, kind of um, uh, conditions out here across Iowa. But I mean, this whole area that you see here in your purplish blue shade, all right, everyone in this circle here, I do think has the potential for seeing quite dangerous road conditions because this is obviously going to accumulate pretty quickly. But if you shift your attention to Omaha, all right, in the Lincoln area, I mean, we still do see about a glaze to a quarter of an inch. So still some relatively moderate ice accumulations here. So overall, just very light accumulations across most of Iowa, and then obviously into Minnesota and Wisconsin. But if you're talking about, areas that are seeing heavier precipitation rates now and obviously into the future, all right, that's when we're going to see the potential for dangerous travel. So I think you guys should be okay mainly. All right, for most of Iowa, but once you get the farther east you go, the higher the accumulations will be. So if you get a little bit closer to the Illinois border, that's when things get quite serious. And you can see also anywhere from half an inch to a quarter of an inch of ice is definitely likely here across some of these counties of northwestern Illinois. So very interesting stuff going on, but obviously, you just got to stay weather aware. And then as far as Illinois and Michigan go, all right, you do have another signal here for some potential ice accumulations. All right, anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch here, a quarter of an inch. across mainly southern and central Michigan. All right, and then a little bit more widespread here across northwestern Ohio. So definitely Cleveland, maybe all the way towards like Erie, is where we could have those another uptick in those accumulations. But once again, a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch of ice accumulation is definitely possible there. So big time issues with that freezing rain. Freezing rain's never a good thing to talk about here if you're just looking for a non-hazardous weather. But I'm just trying to get the word out as best as possible to make sure that everyone out here knows what's going on, so everyone can be extra cautious there on the roadways tonight into tomorrow. So, for the last part of the update, we're going to take a look at the GFS for our just our next few days or next week or two. Taking a look at our outlook for pretty much now until Christmas Day. We want to look at if we're going to see any possible white Christmas or just some big time snowstorms coming up in the future. And then at the very end of the video, we'll also look at our temperatures that are coming up because I do think we're going to see more Arctic air come down from the northern United States and obviously from Canada. So, there goes our ice storm. This kind of moves out from the northeast, and we take this out to pretty much about the 18th here. This is when things get a little bit more interesting. We have very high pressure with a pretty massive Arctic blast. All right, coming down from Canada, and we also do have a low pressure system. All right, you have a piece of energy that does connect with the Pacific jet stream, and obviously our northern branch jet stream here. So the puzzle pieces are coming together to create a snowstorm because you have a very extensive dip in the jet stream. Your jet stream position is it's pretty good, honestly. If you have a winter storm that's brewing here, or just precipitation across the central United States, this is farther south enough. All right, you have cold air nearby. The farther north this goes, the more you're just going to see snow. So this is shaping up to kind of bring a lot of snow into the upper Midwest, and you're talking about also the parts of the Northeast as well. So before this even happens, you can already tell that the environment is ready for it to produce a snowstorm. And so we take this a little bit further. All right, this is getting into, I believe, Wednesday evening here. All right, so this is just about, I want to say 5 days out, 4 or 5 days out. All right, we have a pretty nice, strong storm system stretching all the way from the northeast down to Texas here. All right, and this is just bringing a lot of rain, a total washout here from areas of upstate New York all the way down to central Texas. But you do have a pretty big pocket here of snowfall for those Great Lakes regions. Upper Midwest, you're talking about Wisconsin, Michigan, into upstate New York. All right, you have some decently heavy snowfall. And this continues to spread, and so the GFS does want a pretty nice winter storm here for most of the interior Northeast and areas west of the Appalachians. All right, this is kind of a repeat of what we saw just a couple days ago, except you see more snow and more snow farther inland here. So pretty extensive dip in the jet stream here. You also have another ridge bumping up in the west, so that pattern is going to most likely stick with us. Now, watch what happens soon. You get another clipper. This is a absolutely classic clipper here, 1,050 millibar low, and then kind of comes down here from the northern stream. Although you do look for something in the Pacific jet stream, which is down here, and you see absolutely nothing. So you're probably wondering, why are we looking at this for the potential of seeing a big winter storm if we have nothing for this to connect with in the Pacific jet stream? Well, I'll give you your answer. You have a low pressure system here with this moisture that was associated with this previous winter storm that kind of detached from it. And so now you have a new forming low pressure system. It's very weak, but there it is, 1,060 millibar low. That's the signature. All right, watch what happens as we put this in motion. Watch what happens here. All right, it does attract, this clipper does attract it, and all of a sudden you've got now 1,008 millibar low, which is strengthening. It's moving up the coastline. You have a huge dip in the jet stream. This is going all the way down to the deep south, and you have a pretty strong clipper coming down from the Midwest. So this is the recipe for a potential nor'easter and just a big winter storm here. And pretty much the rest is, kind of just speaks for itself here. This is what happens. We get the connection there. This is pretty much exactly what happens whenever we get these two kind of, scenarios that kind of come together here. Or you get that connection, the low pressure center becomes dominant and it gets very strong here, and all of a sudden you've got a full blown blockbuster winter storm here for New England, southern New England, I 95 corridor. You guys, honestly, I 95 would see the highest totals from this event. All right, this is centered right around you guys. This is the perfect low pressure placement here, and you have just enough cold air for a ton of heavy snowfall here. All right, but you're seeing coastal New England and coastal regions of the Northeast seeing a pretty major winter storm, and this continues to kind of sit over the Northeast, and it takes a while. I mean, it's snowing for like 12 to 24 hours here in DC, in Philly, in New York City, Boston. A lot of these areas that haven't seen major accumulations yet, starting to get that heavy snowfall. And look what happens north of our low pressure center. This is pretty specific, and if you're talking over 200 hours out, you can't take this as even really a significant signal. But just to show you guys, in this specific scenario, we do see a little burst here of very heavy snowfall across southern New Jersey into the Philadelphia region. All right, and if this were to be slow moving enough, this would bring major accumulations. And we actually have seen the GFS show a signal for this. And believe it or not, this is kind of relative to what we saw a couple days ago. The GFS had almost like an error, and it went kind of bonkers with this kind of signal here. It showed a 60-inch snowfall event for New Jersey, and I think this is coming from that signal. I think that the signal is just very strong on the GFS, that it's just showing major snowstorms, and it just got a little bit too intense. So that kind of gives us a hint at the GFS really showing. I mean, this is a very strong signal, I'll say that. All right, yes, 200 hours out is very far, but this has been going on for days now, and the signal is screaming at us. So there is a potential for a pre-Christmas winter storm in the Northeast, and not only the interior, but I do think coastal New England. Just got to keep your eyes on this, because look at this time frame. It's December 22nd, and these snowstorms, these scenarios keep dropping significant totals. So that just brings the idea of a possible white Christmas here. But this sits over the Northeast and then finally moves on out. All right, by the 23rd, which is obviously the day before uh, um, Christmas Eve here. But we have a huge dip in the jet stream here. This storm leaves behind a massive Arctic blast. Look how far south your 540 line is. Your 540 line is down into Tampa. It is down extremely far south. This is down into central Florida. All right, but you are seeing frigid temperatures if you're in the Northeast right now, and this is just in time for Christmas Eve and just in time for Christmas Day. All right, but this would be a favorable pattern for a winter storm, and at this point we're getting too far out. But as of now, all right, the GFS is showing absolutely nothing for Christmas Day. But a pre-Christmas snowstorm is possible, because you have one, two, but three possibly major winter storms here for the eastern half of the United States. So that's just something to get excited about. That's a big signal. I'll say that right now we're not forecasting. Just want to make sure, because I don't want anyone to hate on me for this. All right, I'm just doing this because it's a strong signal. All right, but I'll just say it right now. We need to keep an eye on this, because this is a pretty significant signal. But as far as temperatures go, all right, you can see the progression of that Arctic blast here from the GFS. All right, you can see temperatures well below zero, finally kind of invading the northern United States. And I don't want to go too far out, because temperatures are quite specific here. All right, but you can see in general just very cold air pretty far south, and it does eventually get even down to Oklahoma here. We're in the 20s. All right, so I do think very cold times are coming up ahead. I do think that this is going to be really the prime time for a major winter storm for not just the Great Lakes here. I mean, I know you guys have been seeing feet of snow after feet of snow, but that's just because of your lake effect snow. I'm talking about a major winter storm for the country here. All right, the interior United States. So I think it's certainly possible. But all you gotta do is just watch this channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss an update, and I'll obviously keep you guys informed on whatever happens weather-wise across the country. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you all for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So if you're getting hit by that freezing rain, stay safe out there. I think I'm going to plan on doing ice storm coverage if it gets heavy enough. I might even do it tonight. All right, but definitely turn on notifications so you don't miss out on that. All right, but I do think this is a significant event enough to warrant a live stream, so I will most likely end up going live at least once during this event. But if not, all I gotta say is just stay safe out there, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.